Today, Sayadaw starts to preach by saying as for all the beings who are within the field of Buddha Sasana, then every one of us should train ourselves in bodily behavior, speech, and from mental behavior to be faultless or wholesome, and to have purification. Once a being is pure, then we become civilized. Once you become civilized, you are an adorable person. So to have these good qualities in one, in the previous talk, Sayadaw explained it is connected with two Dhamma nature. Only when one is in peace or tranquil, and only when one's mind is civilized, then to attain all these good qualities, we need to fulfill ourselves with two Dhamma nature. So that's why Sayadaw explained in Pali, that is, whenever we listen to the discourse, we need to listen with high due respect, and we must cherish the Dhamma. But if we are listening just superficially, nor just studying superficially, it won't reach to the bottom of your heart. So that's why it is a crucial or important fact for one to listen with due attentiveness and respect. Only when there is due respect and attentiveness, then all the Dhamma as expounded by the teacher will seep into your heart. Otherwise, if you follow to your straight thoughts, or your mind is wandering elsewhere, then you cannot understand a bit of the discourse. Or if your mind is wavering with doubt, is this discourse true or not, or what, then there will be no acceptance from your mind to this Dhamma. As well, you won't have confirmation, so there will be no development of sattha or faith. There will be no confidence to the Dhamma. So as for one who had not yet trained through this meditational practice, because of lacking in direct experience through one's practical experience, then one cannot understand the qualities or the ability one will be able to accumulate through practice. So that's why to attain all these qualities, as we are taking up this meditation, we need to listen with cherished heart as well with due respect. If we are listening with due respect and cherished heart and wholeheartedly we needed to listen. If we can listen in that manner, then we will awaken our sattha, that is the faith or confidence. Your faith will be awakened or aroused. Otherwise, your faith cannot be aroused. So only when your faith is awakened, then you become alert and you are in the line of this Dhamma discourse. So Sayadaw explained, it is just like while you are in the pursuit of worldly education. In the worldly education, we need to take wholehearted interest to the subject whatever we are learning. Only when we listen carefully to the subjects we are learning, then you become a great learner. That's why Sayadaw says we need to listen with due respect and attentiveness. So Sayadaw expounded the qualities of this Dhamma practice is, as it is the easiest path, as it is the purest, as it is the surest and the most natural walk to walk out, and all the best of the education, and also as it is the surest, rapid attainment of all the benefits. So these are the qualities of this Dhamma practice we have to cherish in our mind. But it is not through any kind of speculation or reflection or any other kind. We cannot develop any kind of faith. So to arouse or to awaken our faith, we need to listen wholeheartedly, and that is the main point Sayadaw would like to remind to all of us. Concerning with faith, Sayadaw elaborates one incident that took place during the time of Buddha. During the Buddha's time, there was a Brahmin. in India at that time there were numerous sects and numerous teachers with numerous different types of concepts. So they go to some teacher will give guidance, this is right and that is so and so. And the others would criticize and others would speculate, and he is wavering to whatever the teacher he had met or whomsoever they were. He just criticized and left nothing in him. So likewise in the modern days too, if you cannot accept anything and just by criticizing or thinking or speculation, then you cannot be in the line of this practice. So as for that Brahmin, when he went and meet with Buddha too, he still did have wavering mind. So he thought to himself that whatever the Buddha said too, Buddha says too, he was wavering and he has the doubt and he is criticizing and speculating. So to that Brahman, Buddha expounded that to a kind of people whomsoever is coming in with doubt and trying to speculate or criticize, then I can make him right. So that is what Buddha has said to the Brahmin, and I can make him to have faith. So Sayadaw says this similar incidents also took place in the modern days too. In the modern days there are so many highly educated people in the world, but they are on the worldly side, and Sayadaw is telling them that they should not have a blind faith. But if especially to philosophers who do have to think a lot and who have to speculate a lot, as they are in the line of philosophy, then they cannot accept the Buddha's teaching. Because as I am a learned person with the speculative mind, then I cannot accept it for the meantime. So in that way, these free thinkers are thinking in that way. So Sayadaw says, even if Buddha couldn't make anyone to have a straightforward faith, then Sayadaw says, what more else he should have to say? He can't do anything to these kind of people. So as for one who do not have faith, then they cannot accept this. So they cannot accept the Dhamma line. That means they, instead of what they think as a knowledge or wisdom, is actually they are deceived by the perplexity or doubt in oneself. Because as the human mind, our mind is unleveled to the teaching of our Lord Buddha. So in that way, our mind has doubt. We have wavering mind. We are skeptical. What is it? And so forth. So in that way, we cannot accept this Dhamma. So Sayadaw cited the Pali phrase, that is, with this kind of mental attitude, these are the people, whether this is true or that kind is true and so forth, that is, they are trying to speculate or reflective or trying to reflect in their mind. So if they are trying to reflect in their mind and speculate, or they are trying to research what it is with the thinking mind, so they cannot come to understand the truth. As they cannot come to understand, but they think to oneself that this is the true wisdom in one. Actually, this is not the true wisdom in one. They are having the skeptical doubt, but this skeptical doubt in one disguise or deceive to one that this person is having knowledge. So in that way, one is having vijikisha. That is the skeptical doubt or perplexity in ourselves. So if a mind is having too much of doubt and perplexity, we cannot do anything to pursue in this Dhamma line. So it is furthermore, Sayadaw says, if that kind of person who cannot pursue properly in this Dhamma line because of perplexity, trying to criticize or speculate, for these kind of being too, Sayadaw reminds that he can't do anything for them. Sayadaw explained, as for one who is listening attentively with due respect, they would arouse or awaken faith. So only who have awakened faith, then they will have a righteous way to practice. So for the meditators who are in the line of this practice, they need to have 5 types of Padaniyanga. That's Padaniya means when the yogis are going to strive strenuously in this meditation, they need to have certain qualities. Inga is the limbs or the constituents. So there are 5 limbs or the 5 constituents for one to have to succeed in the Dhamma line. The first constituent is called faith, strong faith. And second is yogi must be a healthy person. And third is there must be sincerity. Fourth is one must have effort. And the fifth is one must be able to see the mind and matter flux rapidly. So if one is fulfilled or endowed with these 5 qualities, these are the qualities that will conduce one to have Dhamma attainment. Sayadaw explained, when it comes to the term faith, this faith in the field of Buddha's teaching, as for the people who are born as a traditional Buddhists, then for them there is no problem. Because since they were born, they have taken refuge to the Triple Gem, and they have already learned the virtues of Buddha since young. So there is no doubt for them to pursue in this practice. As how we are coming to understand the virtues of Lord Buddha is, as Buddha is the fearless person who have eradicated or extinguished greed, anger, delusion, or any kind of defilements were completely cut off. So Buddha is the one worthy to pay respect by all the beings. But contrary to the Buddhist traditional born, but other people who come from different other religion or who do not have any religion, atheists, for these kind of people, they thought it is an individual refuge, because as a Buddhist we have to take refuge to Buddha. So if they consider him as just a being, Sayadaw is not forcing them to believe as such, but at least they should have faith to the Dhamma. That is the teaching. To the Buddha's teaching, we need to have faith and belief in it, because by practicing in accordance with the Dhamma, we are going to attain the virtues or virtuous qualities by dispelling kilesa mara. These are the defilements, or which these are the executioner, inner killer within oneself. And these are the innermost fire which dwell within us all the while. So if we are able to practice, then these kilesa mara or the defilements are suppressed and dispelled at one time, and we would have tranquility and peace at one time. So to achieve all these beneficial effects, we needed to take up this Dhamma practice, because this is the only way, unique way to practice through this Satipatthana Dhamma. But at least we need to have faith to the Dhamma, as Sayadaw has explained just now and the other day too. This Dhamma practice, it is the purest, it is the easiest, it is the most short to the point, and it is the clearest, and it is the kind of practice that will make you achieve the benefits within a short time. So if we just do have these qualities of faith in these qualities of this Dhamma, then we need to have faith seriously or wholeheartedly. So if we have this kind of faith, then we can take up this Dhamma practice properly. And the second point is, now as we are meeting with Kalyana Metta, that is our virtuous friends or our teachers. Now we are having a good guidance, proper guidance from a virtuous friend. So that is the time that we need to know to ourselves that as we are given a guidance by the virtuous friend, we just needed to follow it. And second quality is also we need to have confidence in ourselves. As we are guided by the virtuous teachers, then we need to take confidence in ourselves to take up this practice. But contrary to this, if one is failing to accumulate the first quality as well the second quality, then they are just wasting their time and they cannot gain anything through this Dhamma practice. So that's why Sayadaw encouraged to everyone that at least we should have faith what can be happen through Dhamma practice. Sayadaw explained that if the yogi have fulfilled with the first quality or first limb, that is the faith. Now Sayadaw touched on the second point. Second point is to have good health. We must be healthy. To this point of healthy mean, Sayadaw says he doesn't mean that a being must have 100% fitness. It shouldn't be 100% fitness. He doesn't mean that way. But nowadays, or the modern people, as we all are not having 100% fitness, but a little bit ill here and there, so minor illnesses are always cropping up in each and every individual. But in accordance with Buddha's teaching, to be in good health means, Sayadaw explained that as for one who do have good digestion, if one have a good digestion, then because of a good digestion, then that person is considered to be healthy. But because of a good digestion, he is well nourished. If you have well nutriment, then you are able to take up this Dhamma practice. Sayadaw explained even the minor form of chronic ill or sick people too, if they can eat or if they can sleep enough, then this kind is considered as in healthy or in good health. So as for the second point, there is no difficulty for the yogis. Sayadaw touched on the third point or third limb, that is sincerity. The sincerity when we take up the Dhamma practice means we should have straightforward mind. That means not to pretend. How we pretend is, though we cannot take up this Dhamma practice in full time, but we, as the timetable, but we pretend as if we are able to take up this Dhamma practice in accordance with the timetable. And when we cannot note attentively and carefully do the Dhamma practice, but we pretend that we can note properly and attentively. So in that way, we try to pretend. So these are the weaknesses in ourselves, but we try to cover up these weaknesses, and we like to pretend to the other people. So if we have to say this as with a straightforward word, this is that person is not having honesty and trying to deceive others. So trying to deceive others means instead of having the no morality, there is a breakage in morality, but one pretend to have observing the morality. Instead of not accumulating the samadhi, there is no concentration, but try to deceive to others as if one have had concentration. And instead of not knowing anything in this Dhamma line, but pretend that one has come to understand to deceive others. So these are called Maya and Satya. Maya is to deceive other people, and Satya is the good qualities which you do not have, but you like to pretend and deceive others as if you have had. So these Maya and Satya shouldn't have in yogis. So as for the yogis who do have straightforward mind, to these kind of yogis, the teacher trusts them. So whatever they say, the teacher will believe. As for one who like to deceive others, or when they are even in this meditation practice, if they are curving or trying to deceive others here and there, then that becomes a burden to the teachers as well. So Sayadaw reminds us that it is very important for every one of us to have honesty. Sayadaw touched on the fourth point, and the fourth point is diligence. This is viriya. So this diligence is how we should be diligent in our practice is there should be a continuity in the line of our meditational practice. How it should be continuous mean it is just like the flow of water. The water flow from up, down, there is continuity of the water flow. So likewise, in the line of our practice, we need to have diligence, and continuous practice is important. So this is done by viriya, that is effort. So when it comes to viriya or effort, Sayadaw explained these are in three stages. These three stages are, first is called arambha dhatu. That is the initial viriya. And second is nekkhamma dhatu. That is the step up or booster up energy. First, we initially make an effort in this practice. In the line of our practice, we need to step up our energy in the line of practice. So this is called nekkhamma dhatu. And the third is parakhamma dhatu. That is the accomplished effort. Accomplished effort is to reach to the end of your practice. So these, if you can practice with these three stages of effort in you, then one is having a brave effort and courageous effort. If you do have a courageous effort in the line of practice, you never rendered even for the body and life of yourself. So in the line of our meditational practice, for the meditators, as we are cultivating our mind, while we are sitting in the meditation or in walking, our body should be tranquil and it should be in equilibrium. But instead of that, whether in the sitting or so, if we are sitting with one leg up, or stretching out the leg, or gazing here and there, or thinking so and so, then we are not in the line of mental cultivation with the viriya as explained by the teacher. So that's why Sayadaw says, in the first place, it is very important to have a tranquility of body for us to cultivate our mind. So to be able to practice properly, whenever we are noting on the rising, for example, to the rising and falling of the phenomenon, our noting mind should note on it, on the object, accurately and carefully, and also we should have a unique collection from our mental power, so much so that with the right effort, as much as we are having the right aim on it, we should pierce or plunge into that object as soon as it occurred. It should be concurrent, and in our hearts too, we should make an effort that I am not going to have a miss in this noting. So if you encourage yourself in that way, then to not only to the rising and falling of your abdomen, but to any other object, whatever occurred, we should have this right aim and right effort with unique, powerful mental energy. So how we should have is, Sayadaw explained, you must have a dynamic mind, you must have an alert mind, and it must be active too. But if your mind is cold, if your mind is slackened and sluggish or withered, then you cannot note properly. So to have these good qualities, we need to note with due respect and note it carefully. So whenever we note to the object and the noting mind should be concurrent, precise, and we should note it with due respect. If we are noting in that manner, we will be having this unique, strong mental power. So as we are in the meditation practice, Sayadaw cited the Pali phrase, we need to take up this Dhamma practice with high respect or due respect and care. So concerning with now is the time Sayadaw have to touch on Satipatthana. This Satipatthana is the combination of two words. Sati is the former and the Patthana is the latter word. The meaning of Sati means it is actually remember, but it is awareness or observation is the better explanation. And the second word, Patthana, is to look closely or to fix or observe on the object. To this kind of mindfulness or Satipatthana it is not a superficial kind. To whatever the object when it comes to the scope of your meditation mind, then your awareness from your mind should be excessively strong and powerful to observe the meditational object. So when it comes to understand the meaning of Satipatthana means, it is the close fixation of firm, steadfast mindfulness and noting concurrently onto the object. So to have a proper effort in us, now Sayadaw have more to say. In the word Patthana, Sayadaw explained that Pa represents in English as excessive or distinguish. This distinguish is, one can say the distinguished word as a normal mean, but in this line of practice, it is superior than the normal means of distinguish. So it should be excessively distinguished. When we are focusing our mind onto the object, then that focusing power in our mind should be the best quality or the strongest quality from our mindfulness. So this should be extremely or excessively better than the normal focusing mind. As we are focusing our mind with sati, it should be the best kind of extremely or excessively we should have the best quality of sati in ourselves. So when we are practicing in this Dhamma line, we need to have this good quality is, the excessive and extremely good quality is, there are some supporting factors. The first is, we need to listen to the Dhamma to fulfill ourselves with knowledge. And second is, we must come to understand the benefits by practicing Satipatthana Dhamma. And the third is to help in our practice. The third quality is we must awaken our faith or confidence. And the fourth quality is we must have a strong chanda or desire to do so. So as for ourselves, we should understand that there are impurities or defilements in ourselves. These impurities are like the executioner or murderer within you. Not only it will kill the being, but it also kills the virtues of one. So with the good practice or diligent practice, we must be able to conquer and become the winner of these impurities. And to do this, we must have a great desire to succeed in the line of practice. So these greed, anger or aversion and delusion, all these impurities are the inner fire within us, which these are very difficult to extinguish. So to extinguish all these inner fire within ourselves, Sayadaw explained how it is surest, how it is the easiest, and how it is surest if you pursue in this practice. at least we should have faith to take up this Dhamma practice by understanding these qualities. So, while we are in the Dhamma practice, if we cannot note, we will be burnt with inner fire. So we have to make an effort not to have a miss in the line of noting, so as not to hurt oneself with the heat of the inner fires. So in that way, we couldn't keep our mind cold, not to be lazy and not to be slackened or sluggish. If we are gazing here and there, thinking all about, then we cannot have that kind of active mind. So in that way, if we are upkeeping in the line of Dhamma practice with these efforts in ourselves, then we are able to note, not to miss even for a second. So that's why Sayadaw reminds us that to have this virtuous quality, not to burn yourself, we need to have great viriya. In the line of our meditation practice, if our chanda or desire to do is too eager to do it, then with viriya, that is the effort, as we are so eager to note on the object and implying effort in our mind to focus on the object, then this kind of mental attitude too also not in concurrence with the mind and the object. It will go over or beyond the object because you are too eager and over. So your noting mind is beyond the object. And contrary to this, another kind is, if our mind is cold or slackened or sluggish, then this mind, because of it is sliding back, it is unable to reach to the target or to the object. So it shouldn't be go beyond, or it shouldn't be lagging behind the object, but it should be with the right aim and right effort to pierce into the object. So to have the right aim at this point, the mental power called vitakka, this mental state should involve in your noting mind. So that is the right aim to imply onto the object. So with this right aim and the right effort, that is, if these two are working out together, you can pierce with your noting mind to the object. So Sayadaw gave an example like you are taking an eatable object, for example, like a piece of fruit. When you are trying to pick up that piece of fruit, you need to pick up with a fork. So while you are aiming with the fork to that piece of fruit, it should be with the right aim, with the right energy, and it should pierce into that object. Only if you have aim, but there is no force or power to pierce the object, you cannot pick up the fruit. And also, because you are too eager to take it up fast or rapid, then you cannot pierce the fruit properly. Maybe you miss it, or you have pierced wrong in the wrong. So that's why it is very important for our noting mind to be concurrent to the meditation object. So Sayadaw says, this way of training our mind to be concurrent with the noting object is, it is very fast and swift. But by explanation still it takes time. But if we train our mind in that manner, it is very fast and swift, and you can make it concurrently to observe the object. But if our noting mind forcing a skillful meditator, you are having the best kind of quality as explained by the teacher, by having the sati or mindfulness. So to all the present occurrences or to the object, if our mind just focus on it, then if there is no power of holding from our noting mind to the object too, then it is not you are piercing into the object. So to have that piercing and holding on to the object and firm from our noting mind is very important. So like as Sarah have given the example, like an edible object, if the fork you are using just touch on the object, you cannot pick it up. So likewise, when we are noting, then if the force from our mind is not sufficient enough to hold on or steadfast on the object, onto the object, then you cannot pierce into that object properly. So Sarah explained these are the qualities shown as in the phrase of Patana. So to explain further, Sarah says, as a first quality, whenever we are noting onto the object, our mind should pierce into the object or plunge into the object as if that plunging mind is sinking or sunk onto the object. Only with the sinking mind onto the object, time after time, continuously, from moment to moment, then that is the time you are going to have a good quality. So with that sinking mind or piercing mind, noting on the object with the right aim and effort, then you will know yourself. There is a steadfastness onto the object and it holds on to the object. So only in that manner, if we are having the mindfulness or noting mind, that is the kind having a best quality of sati. Sarah explained, to become as a dutiful meditator, whenever the object occurred, to that present moment, while it is fresh or while it is hot, our noting mind should be urgent and it should be holding and excessively observing into that object. So at that moment, there is no room for thoughts. We cannot think anything, but we have to note, as we are told, as to note with piercing mind and steadfastness onto the object. So if we are thinking when the present occurrence is there, then that thinking mind become a great hindrance in this Satipatthana Dhamma practice. So to work out properly in this meditational practice, we must note with steadfast mindfulness, and it should be hot or fresh as it occurred, and the noting mind should be concurrently noting on the object. So as for sati, in accordance with the literature, Sarah explained, we shouldn't have apilapana lakkhana. That is the characteristic explained in an indirect form. That indirect form is the noting mind shouldn't be floating on the object. Floating means it is superficial. That means if we take the other way, it should be deep. So it shouldn't, Sarah explained that it shouldn't be like you are throwing a cock. If you are throwing a cock onto the water, it will be floating. But if you are throwing a stone into a pond, then it was sunk into the bottom. So likewise, when we are noting to the object, our noting mind should immediately sink into the object as soon as it occurred. So to have that sinking mind or piercing mind is, for example, if we are noting rising of the abdomen. As soon as the rising occurred, then the noting mind should be concurrently observing with or noting with right aim and right effort. Likewise, if we note to the falling of our abdomen, we note it hot or immediately with the right aim and right effort on to the object. That means we have to note it with due attentiveness, and we must note it very carefully. So if we are noting with due care, then we will be coming to understand with our own experience that our noting mind as if it sunk or it sank into the object, you will have that experience. So likewise, if we are following the footsteps in our walking meditation, whether you are lifting or stepping forward or placing down, then in the line of the process of walking meditation, to each and every moment of each process, our noting mind should be concurrently noting with the object as if our mind is sinking into that object. So in that way, when we are standing or when we are turning our body or whatever we are following to note, we have to note in the same manner. So if we are noting to the meditational object concurrently and fresh with the right aim and right effort, so much so that your noting mind is as if it peers or sinks into the object, and you have to observe in that manner. If you are noting in that way, then that way of noting becomes as the best quality. Whenever we are observing to any kind of object in our meditation field, as we are noting as in the main object, then Sayadaw pointed out that we need to ask to oneself, am I a dutiful meditator? So much so that am I noting as guided by the teacher? So this is the question you have to ask yourself, and you have to have a straightforward answer. And also you need to assess yourself. Am I walking out in accordance with the guidance? Or am I really doing this walk properly as guided by? So if you are asking yourself, you need to answer in a straightforward manner. But if you are too lenient to yourself, and if you wanted to give a light answer as I am dutiful, then this is not the straightforward answer. Even if you yourself can admit you are relaxing to yourself, then Sayadaw says, what more so the teacher can say? Sayadaw explains, in accordance with our great Sayadaw, as well handed down again by our chief Sayadaw now, Sayadaw is guiding to the yogis how to be mindfully practiced in precise and in detailed form. But Sayadaw says, the teacher, their duty is just to give the guideline and to teach them how to follow the path of this meditation practice. But they cannot do anything in the line of practice to come to understand. Only the meditators, himself or herself, can do to achieve the wisdom. So that's why if a yogi is noting superficially or relaxed in a manner, then that yogi cannot accumulate samadhi or concentration. Lacking in concentration is lacking in panya or wisdom. So as for the teacher, their duty is just to give the guidance and just to show them how to follow this practice properly. But for the yogi, if they are lax or not following the guidance, then these become the chronic yogis, like the chronic patient. So even however they are noting for 1 month or 2 months, they won't achieve any kind of wisdom. But for one who is striving diligently, even though within a short period, if you are practicing diligently, then within the short time you would attain the distinguished knowledges through this practice. So that's why Sayadaw reminds us that to be effective in the meditation practice, we need to note it attentively and carefully with due respect. Sayadaw is encouraging that all the yogis who come from very far away, Sayadaw can't let all the yogis to become a chronic yogi. So not to become a chronic yogi, Sayadaw says, he will give a forceful medicine to these kind of yogis, not to let them become a chronic yogi.